Sustainability Advisory Board on May 5th. I see that we do have quorum. Emma, would you please call the roll?
Margie Davy,
Here.
Lisa Moore,
Here.
Jacob Claymeyer,
Here.
Alyssa Ranke,
Here.
Vic Oliver, Jaden Zern,
Here.
Brad Spanbauer,
Here.
and Paul Trader.
Here.
All right. Great. Okay. If we have anybody who would like to make a public comment, now would be a good time to do it. Feel free just to step up to the microphone and please give us your name.
My name is on? My name is James Ponzer. I live at 402 Baldwin. I was here several months ago about the retention ponds, about making them a green space, and I don't get off on the same time you guys have a meeting, so it's rare that I could do this. I noticed that there have been no more fires, no more chemicals. We're all happy about it. When I say my neighbors go blocks all the way. People walk their dogs there. I'm very happy. I don't know if you folks had anything to do with it, but why I came here is to thank you if you did, and if you didn't, please look into it a little further. So with that, I'm going to say thank you and exit the building. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Thanks for letting us know. And of course, we had lots to do with that, right? Actually, I believe we did, so in this particular case. Okay, then I would ask for the approval of the minutes from the April 7th meeting. Anybody?
Also move.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes as written?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll move on to our sustainable activities and events, which is an announcement. Do we have one tonight?
Yeah, I have a couple events that I sourced from both the visitoshkosh.com as well as Facebook. It's normally where I look these things up. There's a Oshkosh Seed Savers plant swap on May 10th. You need to go to their website for details about that. There's also free admission to the Payne Art Center and Gardens on Mother's Day, May 11th. It's a great place to get some inspiration for your native planting areas. There's also a vintage flea market at the Mall of Antiques, Sunday, May 11th, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Some used furniture rather than getting new is always good. There's Bike to Work Day on May 16th. That's at the Opera House Square at 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. There's some quick tune-ups that Sean Lynch, the Winnebago bike owner, will be doing out in the square for everybody if you'd like to bike to work. It's also the day before Bike Osh, so that's a great event that happens every summer or spring here in Oshkosh. It's like a scavenger hunt around town that's organized by the North High School students in their community program. There's also the Oshkosh Garden Club plant sale at Oshkosh Public Museum, May 17th. I think that starts in the morning, and typically there's a sale by the Payne as well for a whole bunch of plants in their little area too. There is also a slow roll, which is a critical mass or large bike event, family friendly. It's meeting at Beckett's at 5:30 on May 20th. Great time to just get out, learn some bike safety, and then show a presence on the road to encourage safe driving and safe bike riding. And then I also saw at the Oshkosh Public Library, Jeff Stewart has a climate reality presentation at 6 p.m. on May 22nd. So
I'll also add Jeff Stewart is coming to the Oshkosh Noon Kiwanis Club May 20th, and that will be at noon at the bar. And then the DNR Urban Forestry is coming to the bar in Oshkosh for Kiwanis Club on May 27th.
Great. We've got a lot of stuff going on.
yeah, and if I could just touch on some of the events that happened last month too and kind of how they went. Let me pull it up real quick. Bear with me here. So yeah, we had the Seed Savers seed swap and soil blocking party. So we got some of our plants started then. I also attended the bike packing for beginners where we biked to High Cliff and back. A great turnout, around 20 people here and there. There was also Earth Day that happened, and I saw a lot of people outside. It was a beautiful day that day. Brad, you had your talk. Do you want to share anything about how that went or anything?
The Colligan lecture on campus. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good, very well attended. Just talked about sustainability and civic engagement, so it was good.
Nice. Thanks for your civic engagement.
Yeah.
The Urban Ecology BioBlitz and foraging event happened at the county park. We had a good turnout for that too, about 20 people. We participated in the City Nature Challenge, which is a worldwide biodiversity survey using citizen science to take observations. And then I also taught some people foraging out at the county park and Asylum Park as well. Repair Cafe, I got some stats from it. It was at the Y this last April, and I think 80 something people came in. About like 2/3 of the items were fixed. And over time, we've fixed over like 500 items in the 7 events that have gone on. So some great progress, always great conversation and camaraderie there. And then there's also Bird Fest. And do you want to share anything about the watershed cleanup?
Yeah, so that was just this past Saturday for confirmed registration. So we also accept walk-ups. It's just that takes longer to process the data afterwards. We had about 1,850 people register across the basin picking up trash Saturday from I think like 9 to 10:30. So that was all the way from Fond du Lac, Green Bay, New London, like Wrightstown, all over. It was about I think 70 different sites. I don't have totals on weight, but a lot of trash. So depending on the size of the site. So prior to that, maybe to help gauge it, we did also a preseason draft cleanup with the Packers as well at Fox Wolf. So that was on the 22nd, and between 4 sites and maybe like 65 volunteers, they pulled like about 350 pounds of trash out, just on 4 locations up in the Green Bay area in 2 hours. So, extrapolate that across our base, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of trash. It takes a little bit to process the numbers, but it was a long but fantastic day, and it continues to grow.
Wonderful.
Well, you were at Bird Fest, and Menominee was one of the sites. Did you see any folks picking up trash there?
I maybe didn't make it to Bird Fest. But I hear it was wonderful. And they had their big sit and they had their bird walks. I'm sure there were people picking up trash too. Yes. Call me up, catch me.
Sorry.
One thing I did attend though was the Urban Ecology was one of the sponsors, but the program that Shannon Davis-Faust and the lady from Water something or other gave out at Coghlan Center was amazing. They were talking about, let's see if I can say this,
Nicotinoids.
Thank you. Neonicotinoids. That's such a pretty word if you can manage to say it. But scary stuff. Very scary stuff. I left just going, oh my God, we're screwed. But it was very interesting information, and I'm wondering if we maybe want to have somebody speak here on that too, so that we can get it out to a broader audience. So.
I don't know that word, so
Yeah,
I'd love
what
to
is
learn
it?
more.
So neonics are a type of pesticide that are used and are have adverse effects, especially to a lot of different kinds of insects in the environment. One interesting thing to kind of tether to that is the kind of growing abundance and use of Zins, if you're familiar with Zins. So Zins are the little packets of nicotine that people take and ingest.
Sure.
And they're becoming a very problematic item that is found now, similar to like cigarette butts, where they're just kind of spit everywhere and thrown everywhere all over our environment. They contain nicotine, and nicotine was once used as a pesticide by the government. And so if you see the word neonicotinoid, it is derived from nicotine. And
went
so
pharmacology, and I never learned that.
so
thank
the prevalence of nicotine-based chemicals in our environment is becoming very worrisome.
Okay. Fair enough. Another
Yes.
reason to ban it.
Okay, anything else?
It's not a specific event thing, but we don't have an agenda item for it. So for like Lomo, Nomo, May, right? Which we're just promoting Lomo, but just from a Fox Wolf point of view, I worked with our communications person to put some additional information out, including throwing out some info about Oshkosh. And I just wanted to say that we've got some great conversations happening in our comments and going to the website, learning about the benefits of Lomo May. So I think that helped a little bit with some of the information.
I think I have my lawnmower set that height off. So I'm not cutting as low as I used to. Just to.
Well, it's always great to see. I mean,
Yeah.
social media is its own unique
Yeah.
beast, right? And there was actual conversations from not Fox Wolf staff talking about native plantings versus low mowing versus no mowing, and then we provided some additional support in there. But just thought that was unique and worth sharing.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to agenda topic reminder, which Emma is going to share with us.
Yeah, so just that there's some new members and there's been some changes. Just want to remind everybody that if you want something put on the agenda, to reach out to me prior to the week prior or the week prior to the agenda going out so that we can get that added. And usually the process, we'd add that to an agenda item for a future meeting. Whoever emails me or whatnot, if they want to give a little spiel, see if the board would like to talk about it at a formal meeting. It's kind of the process. So just wanted to remind you all of that. And then I do have access to some videos for onboarding that the attorney's office did do. If anybody's interested, I can definitely send those out just to kind of go over the rules again for boards and commissions, because I know we don't usually do, I guess, professional onboarding for SAB. So if anybody's interested, I can definitely send those out. I just kind of wanted to plug this if there's any questions, and just a reminder there.
And I would recommend that people, if you have the chance, do take advantage of the videos. I haven't seen them, but I know they used to do onboarding with SAB, and there's a lot of information that they would give about things like walking quorums and how that works. And I mean, some of us have experienced that and have learned that, how that's handled and stuff, but I'm sure there's good information there that we should all be aware of. We're all kind of using loose Robert's rules that's not specific, but I mean, the city's Robert's rules aren't quite the same as everybody else's, but we do that. But beyond that, there are other rules that we should at least be aware of. That way you'll know if you're breaking them or not. It'll be more fun.
Emma, just for clarity, so to add agenda topics, about how many days prior to this meeting do you need items?
2 weeks.
So you need them you should really get them not the week prior to this meeting, but within
Right.
the week before the week.
Yep.
Okay.
And I mean, like, if you get it to me, if it's 10 days, not 2 weeks, that's not the end of the world. I just need it prior to that agenda.
The first full week before.
Yep.
Okay.
Going out, so.
And sometimes a few extra days allows you to vet it within the department and
Yeah,
stuff,
we can
too.
prepare a little bit, or if, we need to do some back and forth on what exactly you're looking to get added, just account for that time.
Thank you, Emma.
Yeah.
May I back up to sustainable for a moment? Because isn't when isn't Payne going to have their sale coming up in a few weeks?
I
usually do.
didn't confirm that they were having a sale. I'm not sure if it's publicly facing. It might just be for Payne Arts members. So that's why I don't think I saw any listings for it. But the Oshkosh Garden Club is having their sale on the 17th.
Okay.
I would think it's probably that day too.
Because in the past, it was always I think the third, May 17th,
Can I-
I think.
Alyssa?
It's the Festival of Spring, I think is the formal name for the
That's what they're
Payne.
calling it, yeah.
Yep, it is the 17th as well. I went to that last year, and just looking at their website, it's a free outdoor event. So,
Right.
and I
Right.
believe there's also free access to the Payne that day.
Members get to go in a little bit early. You got first pick on all the plants that they're selling. which is, and then it brings me a thought of another thing. Those of us who, I'm trying to plant more Wisconsin-based plants in my garden and yard and that sort of thing. Do you know of any vendors in Oshkosh that are a good source for that?
I think we could maybe discuss that after the meeting.
Okay.
We're not noticed for that, and that is one of the rules that they would share with us when the attorney used to come in, was that it has to be, the meeting has to be noticed to discuss something like that before we go into it, so.
Thank you.
Sure.
Learn as we go.
So, let's go on to the farmer's market. Do we have dates, Emma?
Yeah, I apologize. I know we were going to try to figure this out before the meeting, but unfortunately, I think I only heard from, or I guess Brandon only heard from like 3 people, and then he sent the follow-up, and now we got 5 responses from 5 members. Looks like the best day is Saturday, October 25th, with 3 people available to work that one. Sorry, I'm starting kind of in the back. So let's, I'll go back. So it looks like June and July are maybe no's. We don't have as much members willing to work those, but I have Saturday, August 9th. Paul and Jake, you said you would be available, and then Alyssa, you had that as if needed.
Yeah, so what's difficult, so I filled in some stuff.
Yeah.
So as the weather gets nicer, more of the stormwater folks reach out to me to work Saturday events, and sometimes I only get like a week notice.
Okay.
So it's really kind of
tentative.
Very tentative for most of those dates, so I didn't
Okay.
want to put tentative for everything, so I just started doing a couple that I figured might work.
Okay. So yeah, so August 9th and then August 16th as well.
Okay, let me look at my calendar.
16th, okay.
Should still be all right.
So what we want to do is pick the dates that we would have somebody available, and then we can submit 2 of those to the city and see if those dates are available. And we can also put down, I don't know if you want to do the paperwork or if you want me to do it. You did it last year, right?
Yes. And then, so those 2 August dates, and then I also have October 11th and October 25th, just if you want to put those placeholders. And sorry, I just didn't want to forget that. So.
I'm good for the 2 in August, so
Okay.
those get picked. When those in October?
I did the October 25th.
Okay.
Well, that must probably be like the last one of the year.
Yep.
And I think I could probably work 3 of those.
Okay.
So I didn't put myself down because I figure I'm the one that's going to get the call when somebody doesn't make it, and then I'll fill in. It also keeps me from having to commit. But okay.
You can
Well,
call
let's
me
go
in for
ahead and-
anyone that you want.
Okay. So now, if those dates, if we're good moving forward with those, I'll work on getting that paperwork sent to them as soon as possible.
Were there any dates at all in September or that anyone was available?
Yes. I mean, for most of them, there was at least 2 members that would be available.
Okay. And of course, ideally, we would have 4 people so we could do 2 shifts. But that's not always practicable either. So if we could, as long as we have at least 2 people that can do it, we can. And I don't know if, I know in the past, we've talked about having themes for the different days. I don't know if we want to consider that again. We talked about rain barrels, and we talked about something else.
Well, potentially could be a composting discussion if things go well here.
That's true.
But yeah, I think maybe themes or just general outreach about what sustainability is.
Well, let's get our dates, and then we can have the people that are going to be working on that decide what they want to do with the time.
Yeah.
And we have everything stored in the office yet, so we have everything ready to go pretty much.
So if there's one thing I could just put out there, just being mindful of going into the summer season, if we wanted to try to do one earlier in the summer, just to get that messaging out there, that might be valuable.
Yeah, it looks like June 21st, and Paul and Jake respond that they could come. If someone could make that work, we could maybe try for that date first.
Yeah, I'm still available then.
Okay.
Okay, so let's concentrate on June 21st, and I think we only need
So far,
one
so
of
good.
the August dates and one of the October dates as a backup.
Okay.
So I guess whichever one they have available would be the one we'd go with.
The June 21st, I'm not available because it's a summer solstice event at Bolt, so I have to go work that. But that could be part of the theme if we choose that date.
Oh, yeah. Could all dress up like little wood nymphs.
So, how many dates are we trying to select in total for the season?
I think last meeting you discussed 2.
Okay.
And maybe with the backup date of, 2 possible days.
Okay.
But
So like, right now we're maybe thinking June 21st, one in August. I might make the suggestion that if we're gonna choose between the 2 October dates, probably not the last day of the month. That feels like not a good choice.
It's also going to be Halloween costume time for the market.
Yeah, so like
So
the
the 11th?
11th maybe feels like a better one.
And either of the August ones, neither of those conflicts with any of the other things we're aware of, right? Like, I mean, there's lots of things going on all
I
summer
know,
long,
it
so.
can-
I think I could do the August one. I don't have any other dates in October open other than
Okay.
the 25th, but that's fine. I can try and do
You could do
August.
either August date?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So now, Emma, you're going to see if these dates are available?
yes.
Because we don't know if they still have the spots open.
Right.
Got it. Okay, so we're choosing between June 21st, probably both of the August dates, and October 11th, and
Yep.
we'll pick 2 of those. Got it.
Yes.
I will
with
do,
the-
like I said, I'll get this out this week if this is
And
good.
if we have the manpower for it, we could potentially do a third one. There's a very small charge that we could probably each throw in $2 and manage to handle that.
Sure.
But they only give us 2 as a service organization.
Okay. Oh, that's why we did 2. Okay.
Yeah.
2 freebies.
Okay, anything else on the farmer's market? Sounds like we got it wrapped up. Yes. Okay, let's move on then to composting. Who
Yeah.
would like to talk about that, Lisa?
I'll go for it. Did everyone get the memo that was sent with the packet? Okay, great. So I just kind of wanted to give a brief highlight of what that memo was about. So I had a conversation with the Dane County Waste and Renewable program. They are a county program, and they have started a composting program for residential communities in Dane County. So what they have is the Purple Cow composting site is open, and then they have different residential spaces. So in each residential, I think it was 6 to 8 communities, they have a station where you can bring food scraps that are compostable, and then their local waste service company picks it up and brings it to the Purple Cow site. So right now, they have capacity for more composting. So I wanted to bring this conversation up and see what type of collaboration, if any, is possible between Oshkosh, the Winnebago County, maybe some of our surrounding cities, and then potentially Dane County, if we had interest in the residential composting plan, what that would look like. So a lot needs to go into it. First, clearing it with the city, seeing if that's something that's possible, and then creating like a working group to research. So Delaney provided me with resources and Excel sheets that you can look at the different companies, the waste companies around Wisconsin that will haul the compost. So there's a lot of background to it, but I just wanted to bring it up as a conversation to see if anyone else had interest in composting. Because this is such a big thing that's happening in Dane County, and it's really cool to see, I feel like there is an opportunity here to do that. Of course, funding and financing is all incorporated in that. So I guess I just wanted to bring it to the table and see if anyone else had any interest in composting and they wanted to further research it, and then also bringing it up to the city through Emma of like what type of partnership, if any, could there be between Oshkosh and Winnebago County.
Brad, out of curiosity, since the biodigester got shut down, do we have any data on what kind of use that saw from the community as well? Because my understanding was that was a community resource as well. Is there a demand for it, or continued interest?
I don't know if there is. I don't know if there's demand. I would not say the primary. I wouldn't say that primarily we were receiving food waste from the community.
Mm-hmm.
There were maybe a small handful of people who just kind of by word of mouth were allowed to bring their home kind of food scraps to dump them at the at the biodigester, the
Gotcha.
kind of urban biodigester.
Yeah.
Primarily, we were taking farm residue. So like farmers would bring their spent bedding that had cow manure in it, and then there were some companies who like canned vegetables or did other like more of that manufacturing process. That was a piece of the kind of feedstock food waste component.
Yeah.
And then just a few, I would say, more kind of commercial scale sources of food waste. The campus being one, but there were a couple of others.
Gotcha. But it wasn't a sprawling public initiative or anything like that.
No. Now,
Just wanted to make sure.
yeah, I mean it could be. I mean, the facility still exists. It is cleaned out. So the feedstock and the tank would need to be inoculated again, and you would have to kind of get the operation set up again. So essentially, all of the infrastructure is still there. It's just currently, not being used for its intended purpose.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
what's the capacity of this unit that you have? How much stuff can it process at a time?
When it was running at full capacity, it processed about 10,000 tons of organic material every year.
And is there a minimum amount to get it going? And
I'm sure there
Well,
is.
but-
Yeah, I mean, I could provide some more data at a future meeting. I do know that annually it offset for the university about $100,000 of our electricity costs. It produced, about 7 to 8% of the university's total electricity. The equivalent amount of the university's total electricity consumption. It was not what they call behind the meter. It just went out to the grid, and then the university had a power purchase agreement with the utility to pay a rate for the electricity that was produced.
Interesting arrangement. I wasn't aware of it. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's important that we recognize that we're kind of talking apples and oranges here, though,
Yeah.
between the local biodigester and the composting. One advantage would be that the biodigester is local and we wouldn't have the transportation charges
Yes.
or impact on the environment. But
It kind of seems that it would defeat the purpose.
But if they're
You
already
gotta haul
doing it
down
in
there.
composting in Dane County, well, then we want to explore that for sure, too.
And
see
if
what
the-
kind of costs are involved. I will tell you, and I don't remember, I may have said this last month, but I do know that we're very, very lucky in Oshkosh, and we don't realize that for the most part because it's always been this way. But in other neighborhoods, other communities where I have relatives, they don't have public pickup for their garbage. They have, it's all privatized. And in Minnesota, where my son lives, there's maybe 5 different companies that come down the street every day, and they pick up the yellow ones and they pick up the blue ones, and but they pay directly for that service, and it's much more expensive than what we pay. And the same thing was, I've seen this in Florida too, where there were like 3 different companies. So I think we need to recognize the fact that we have much lower bills than we could have if it were all privatized and farmed out. And maybe that would be a hook for the city to say, well, because we have such a low rate, maybe the community would say, hey, if we each pay $5 more a year for this and can add composting, that this would be a valuable commodity. So I think we need to approach it that way too,
Okay.
is my thought. Other thoughts?
And just to clarify my intent from before, that was mostly as a source of referrals, assuming that the resource that you're discussing, Lisa, would make sense for the community. But if there's additional opportunities for collaboration around a biodigester, that's all the better. But again, that assumes that everything works out from a logistics standpoint.
Yeah, I just have a couple clarifying questions. Lisa and I know you and I had kind of exchanged a bit about this. So is the intention to set up a pilot program for residential compost pickup, and that compost would be transported to the Dane County operation?
Yes, I believe that's where we're at right now because we don't have a site located for composting in Winnebago County that I know of.
But as you sort of alluded to earlier, you might be suggesting, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, and not that these are mutually exclusive, we could also be exploring, I think to Margie's point, exploring a more local option for kind of the receiver receiving the compost and the food waste, perhaps at a reignited university biodigester or some other sort of county-run, city-run, privately run, more local composting operation.
Yeah, 100% would feel better with that option. I think the research will show us that it's going to cost too much to transport from Oshkosh to Dane County, just in terms of what's happening right now around the country. So I think the background research is important just to show them, like, this company will pay this price to travel, this company will pay this price, this is what we're paying right now, and then potentially at some point have a composting space in Oshkosh or Winnebago County, work with the university at some point. I mean, it's here, so it's not being used. Why not?
Lisa, what do you see as next steps to investigating, kind of doing some benchmark research?
Yeah, so I think the first step is just understanding the city's side of this, and if this is something that SAB can do, or is this something that I would have to have outside of SAB. So clarifying with Emma and the folks over at the city, the next step would be getting a group together, a working group, to kind of research and go through some of the documents and other materials that Delaney sent us. If the city did have buy-in, then they could potentially assist with some of that. But if not, then it would just be outside of the city of Oshkosh.
Just from the stormwater point of view, just because this is conversations I've had with other communities around this, like Northeast Wisconsin recently, that getting a composting permit for a municipality from the DNR is quite the task.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the scale. So for example, like leaf collection, you have to be very specific when you're reporting leaf collection for your stormwater permit, and you're not adding anything to it. The leaves can naturally break down. They're not some, like, communities will say the leaves are sitting in the pile. That's like in the appropriate setting. We're not composting them. They're naturally breaking down. Then they don't have to do a permit with it. If you say the word compost, then it's a whole process for permitting, and then there's like testing and a bunch of other things that go into it. So there's communities who will have that pile and it sits there and naturally breaks down, and there's a lot of other communities that will, the leaves will go to like landscaping companies who will compost it for them.
Sure.
And that seems to be kind of the standard practice.
I think we also need to bring in the county solid waste as soon as possible, because if I recall correctly, I believe that there is a drop-off point in Appleton for composting, that you can just take your own stuff there. I mean, you know, you get enough to take the trip to Appleton, and it's not going to be smelling real pretty maybe, so I don't know that it gets a lot of use from Oshkosh. But we should include them in the discussion, I think, early on.
Absolutely.
Because I think that might be another source for us, another resource, I should say, for dumping.
Can residents of Winnebago County take their organic waste to the Outagamie County facility?
I believe so, because I believe our partnership with the Tri-County thing applies.
Just wanted that on the record.
So, and then yes, this is large scale composting. So depending on how conversations go, like if we need to scale back and just talk on the local level, that's great. I just was informed of this happening in Dane County, and it's really cool. It's awesome. So I thought, you know, potential opportunity up here, especially with our partnership over at UW Oshkosh. So,
do we have a sense for the demand in our county?
That was my question too, on the smaller scale of like, and we wouldn't be able to collect the specific data, but you know, how many people are already composting at their own homes? And is there does there need to be an education on composting amongst the communities?
or how many people are going to Outagamie County to drop this stuff off if there is that partnership that exists. And my question to you, Brad, is do you know what the capacity constraint was at the time of the biodigester running? Was that is that we've hit the maximum amount of things that we can compost? Is it there's only so much fuel that we can give the biodigester? Like, what was the main constraint there?
So I don't know that the urban biodigester was ever. I mean, I think it kind of came up against the sort of upper threshold of how much material it could consume, or kind of process over the course of a year. I don't know that it was ever like we can't take any more waste. I do know that at one point they had discussed if there was a pretty significant increase in demand, the facility was built in such a way that they could add 2 more bays on the back end of the building. So the building was comprised of 4 bays that were these like chambers that were used to process the compostable material over a 28-day period. And they did build it. They constructed the facility so that additional bays could be added if there was additional need to process more material. Obviously, we did not reach that. I would also argue that the facility has the ability to drive multiple revenue streams, or has sort of a diversity in its portfolio. It is taking in a waste product. It is producing a compost-like product that does need aerobic composting at the end because it's composted anaerobically. There's also an energy component. I mean, I think there are kind of multiple sort of. I don't know that those revenue streams were as fully explored as they could have been.
Appreciate the clarifications. Thank you.
Even if you did use a lot of big words.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like getting public input, is this a question we could use on the public survey for the sustainability plan? Asking Emma over there.
Possibly, yeah. Can look into it for sure.
Is this something that we could bring up perhaps as as we're polling people on June 21st at the farmers market? Just gauge public interest there.
Does the city have, are there policies on how we collect data, survey work, do that kind of stuff? Like at the university, you would have to have an IRB to collect basically survey data from people. Does the city, I assume the city has some kind of rules and regulations about that?
I would assume so. I'd have to look into it and I can get back to you on that. Yeah.
Could you explain IRB for us, please?
Internal Review Board. So it's a board that reviews policy or reviews processes for how people want to conduct research with human individuals, right. like surveys.
Exactly, and you want to preserve anonymity. You want to protect their identity and all that sort of thing. It's carryover from some healthcare reform about 30 years ago, definitely. And it's entered all the realms. It's actually older than that, but
so it's HIPAA for composting.
Well,
I'm kidding, Paul. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I think if you're just offhand, if you're not taking anybody's name or address, and maybe just that they're city of Oshkosh and no other data, that they're a resident.
City of Oshkosh.
You're probably okay just from the research that I've done in healthcare, if it's really generic. But
but I think
you're right. It's best to take a look and see, so you're not stepping on anybody's toes or raising any ire. Totally agree with that. It's a good point.
Okay, so I guess my question for all of us at this point is, it sounds like we kind of want to explore this further. Am I getting that feeling correctly?
Sure, certainly worth.
Okay.
You don't know until you ask.
If I could I just clarify why this is important? Because we kind of jumped right into we want to compost in this area, and I think it's important to state what the problem here is and what we see isn't sustainable. Really, we're talking about residential scale here. I can speak for myself at least. I create about a gallon of say food scraps in about a month. It varies, right?
I
Size
will
of your
say
family.
it's not just residential. So it's
Okay.
just in the residential areas, there's a composting bin, and all folks can bring, not commercial, but like small business, people can bring their food scraps and put it in there. So it's not just like neighborhoods, it's open to anyone.
Okay.
And then of course Dane County just has more people, so it might make more sense because there's more people centrally located in that county. But even just in some type of capacity, education on composting. Are people keeping it in their yards? What are they doing with it? Do they even know about it? So this is just like informational. There's no action on it today.
Okay.
It's just to bring it up and see if there was any interest.
For sure, yeah. I just wanted to show, though, like, it is a problem that we are facing as a community, even if it doesn't feel like a problem that we don't have composting right now. Like, it's, even if we're talking about more than just residential areas, so it's a gallon per month per household, let's say. There's a ton of households, tens of thousands of households in Oshkosh.
It adds up over time, that's what you're
Right?
saying.
Every month, tens of thousands of gallons of food waste. There's also all the restaurants, if we're talking too, or you even expand it to the grocery stores. They throw out so much food into their dumpsters. And all of that waste is put into our landfill, presumably. Almost all of it. I would assume that most people right now are not composting for various reasons, right? It can be stinky if you don't do it right. You can live in an apartment and not have a place. Even in homeowners don't necessarily know how to do it. So all of that food goes into the landfill, and one, that's not sustainable in its own right. The landfill will fill up at one point, and we're going to have a very polluted area, and then create an even bigger polluted area after that. Also, all of that, when it breaks down under anaerobic conditions and not burned in a biodigester, it can create methane gas, which is a huge greenhouse gas emitter. Also just stinks, like, or go to Kakana. I mean, but that's that smell, and that's why what we want to avoid if it breaks down under aerobic. So like with oxygen incorporated, it can reduce the carbon emissions and also create a really rich fertilizer. So I think that's an important note too. Is like there's those secondary uses that I hope that we can keep in our community and not ship out. It's not just our problem to put on somebody else. It's a solution we should put on ourselves.
Yeah,
We need to be able to grow more food here in Oshkosh in general. So
The Purple Cow site just has capacity right now because it's a pilot program. So if there was interest and we got this rolling and we wanted to test it out, we could put our compost in their facility. But eventually it'll be capped and we wouldn't be able to do that. So it's just like a test program if it was something that we were interested. I'm definitely seeing it lower scale, bring it to Winnebago County, keep it in our area.
I just have a silly
Brad and
question.
then Alyssa, did you still have?
I was just gonna say, yeah, so I mean, Lisa, I think, I'm very interested in this. I'd be curious to also have one of the county solid waste reps visit us, and perhaps they could share some information on how much municipal solid waste, like what percentage of what goes into the landfill is food waste. Emma, are you able to pull up the previous projects from the students?
That's what I was going to touch on. So I did include just some minutes here. I gotta remind myself of which meeting. This restaurant composting 2021. Okay.
Because we've had students who have done projects on this before.
When you're talking about like the statistics on the waste, you're talking about Winnebago County statistics, right? Not the Dane County.
Right here.
Well, yeah, or I mean, our waste all goes to Outagamie County.
Yeah.
But yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
if I remember right, this one is focused on, restaurants, food waste, because it's already a very consolidated source of food waste.
Okay.
Brian Langolf was the guy at the
Biogas program.
biodigester, right? Okay.
So we have a good kind of some baseline work to start with. We can get some data from the county individuals about waste going in. I mean, this has been looked at before. I think we're kind of re-upping it a little bit.
Well, and I was also going to mention that I can remember some of the people who have brought it up in the past, not necessarily members of our board, people in the public who've come in and asked. And so if we do set up some kind of I forgot what you called it.
Like a pilot program.
Or
test program.
just like the talking group.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
focus group, yeah.
If we were to do that, I think we should include some people from the community as well, not just, not to make it unmanageable. I'm not talking 100 people here, but, which actually the school district tried a 100-person committee once. It didn't go well. Jaden, did I see you?
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify a few things and maybe establish a few more needs. You had mentioned that we ship our waste to Outagamie County. My understanding is, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but at some point in the not too distant future, we will have to select a new landfill site because the one in Outagamie is getting on the fuller side, from my understanding, and we'll have to assign some very large plot of land to be a landfill, and we essentially will be taking Outagamie's trash.
And Brown counties, because it's a 3-county.
Exactly, yes. So I just wanted to clarify if anyone had any additional knowledge on that.
So Brown County will be next. They're currently constructing, or about to be constructing, the next Brown County landfill site. But then it will come back to Winnebago County, and then it is my understanding that they are starting to consider sites for the next Winnebago County landfill.
That was my understanding as well. And also, you had mentioned that food had broken down and whatnot, or would break down in anaerobic conditions. My understanding is that oftentimes that doesn't happen. And somebody, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but there's sort of those famous things where somebody will, go through an old landfill that was, 50 years old, and they'll pull out like a hot dog that still looks totally normal.
To be fair, you wouldn't compost a hot dog.
Yes, but it's also food waste.
Yeah.
True.
Well, I think one important piece of information that in having this discussion that something that Jake said made me think of is I think this is a very worthwhile topic to explore more, and clearly based on the amount of conversation we're having, people are excited about it. I think an outcome could also be renewed information for homeowners. So if you do want to do backyard composting, there is a way to do it wrong and there is a way to do it right. And when you do it wrong, you can create anaerobic conditions. And so one can imagine if every homeowner in a city or in a county is doing their backyard composting wrong, they're also creating potential anaerobic conditions in their backyard, which is contributing to methane, which is, right, so like you're cutting up your pie and just sort of distributing the problem across a landscape.
Just another small detail while we're still talking about composting is I do know Winnebago County last year did have an effort for home composting, and they had like discounted compost bins residents could buy. That's how I got mine. It's very large, but it's nice. So I don't know if they have any data on like the interest the community had from that. Kelly Ryer was in charge of that, but
I'm thinking that we need to see if Kelly's available next month and could come in and talk to us about some things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Does that sound good to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to her? Or?
Either or, I can reach out to her too.
Go for it.
Okay.
She's also got some great videos of how the stuff works. It's fun. I'm just saying. Okay. Anything else on this?
No, that's it.
Okay, I think we covered that pretty well. Bulk pickup. What is bulk pickup? Who put that on
I
there?
did.
This is a list.
Yes, and this is probably partially due to my ignorance. So, background, right? So, born and raised in Fond du Lac, so far away, right? But I moved to Oshkosh last year. When I was growing up, the city of Fond du Lac had bulk pickup for the whole community, and that I believe doesn't happen anymore, but still
Will you please define that for us?
trucks come around and pick up bulk waste from your house, like mattresses, toilets, construction. So not like liquid hazardous waste materials, but like the stuff that's not going to fit in your garbage can that nobody wants to take a trip for. So from my understanding, there's not a bulk pickup or free bulk pickup, right? Because that's how it used to be. I know a lot of communities are going away from that. And I just wanted to have a conversation about not necessarily bulk pickup, but like bulk waste in Oshkosh, and what that could look like in the future. So from my understanding, the options are you could do a bulk pickup at your house where you pay a fee for somebody to come and pick it up, and you can do a bulk drop off, which also still has a fee associated with it. I know last time we touched on it was I asked to add it to the agenda item that bulk pickup would cost a lot of money for the city. And then that made me think, well, we do like free hazardous waste, like a free hazardous waste 4-hour drop off period somewhere. Is that something that we could look into, a free bulk waste drop off? If it's at the same bulk drop off location anyways, would that reduce some of the waste that's being put out in the environment?
And I do want to just put out there that the neighborhood associations do have funds available, and a lot of them do like a bulk, something like this for their neighborhood. I know sometimes they've teamed together and a couple of neighborhoods go in on it, and if they, increase funding, maybe do 2 days rather than just the 1 day. But I just want to, there is options already, but that aren't through the city.
We don't have a neighborhood association in our area on the south side of town.
Yeah.
Which south side, which corner, which direction?
Right by the airport. So
Oh,
20th
okay.
to like 15th.
So on the other
There are,
southwest
I believe-
side, we do, yeah.
I believe, are you in charge of the
Yeah.
neighborhood associations also? Are we up to like 24 or 26?
26 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're interested in creating a neighborhood, I mean that's an option. This is a lot of times there's an issue in the neighborhood that brings people together, and they're like, hey, I want
Right.
to do this, and that's kind of how they create it. So this is something that you want to do in your neighborhood, and you have some neighbors that are also interested in
Right.
that. It's
I
an
got a
option.
resounding no from my neighbors.
I just wanted to put
You
it
already
out.
tried?
Put it out there.
Because I think we basically touched on this a little bit last meeting, and then we had the neighborhood association meeting right after that, and it did come up as a topic, so I am actually very interested, and we thought about the 1 day, get a roll-off box or something and find a place to put it. And you're saying there are some funds that the city could provide,
Not
or
through
is
the
that
city. It's
separate?
through Go H&I.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's, okay. There's funding available somehow,
Yeah.
and our chair would know what that is. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge that there are options for neighborhood associations, but there are also a lot of residents who aren't in those. And I
Right.
just was hoping we could look into some of the like resources.
Other options.
Right.
For folks who aren't in those.
right.
It would be open to all, right? Not you,
Right.
If you're not in a neighborhood association, if you are, so.
Are we finding that it's sort of an issue that's arising with disposal of bulk items where like we just have people littering? Is this like a growing trend, I guess is the question?
Think about it. Like, if you're a person who doesn't have a trailer, or you just have a car, how are you getting rid of your mattress or whatever your junk is? So I feel like it is a little bit of an inequality depending on where you live. Like, if you're in a neighborhood association, great, like you have options, but there's other people, and then what happens, it just like ends up on the street somewhere, and it just starts piling up. And I've seen it in the apartment complexes around town where like they're just scattered everywhere. So I think it would be interesting to see what the cost is and why it's, or how it can be available to all citizens, if like free or something.
Brad?
This feels like another topic that might warrant some survey work to understand demand, to understand what services people know about, what services people are using. I have maybe once or twice taken some items to the Winnebago County landfill just for drop off, or I've gone with a friend who has done that. But she had to rent a U-Haul truck, go through that process, which if you've ever rented a U-Haul vehicle is not necessarily fast or straightforward. It's time consuming. I mean, it consumed almost 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday morning, which just maybe to Lisa's point, like people just may not have. So I would be curious to understand, for people who can't get rid of a toilet, or if you've been doing some remodeling or whatever it may be, like you just don't have a way to get rid of that waste. What is the solution that is that I guess considers cost, that is also considering, is it better to haul a roll-off dumpster into a neighborhood and sort of let everybody dump into it? Or are we fine with having 50 cars drive out and idle and wait at the Winnebago County landfill for it to open and then go one by one across the scale? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think trying to think a little bit bigger picture about
what the different options are and which is friendliest to the environment.
Friendliest to the environment, friendliest to the people, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And take in all the socioeconomic factors.
Right. Yeah.
Which is to your point. Yeah. And I mean, I personally know that it's $15 to have a mattress picked up at your house, but you have to make sure it's out on the curb, and you have to come to City Hall to pay for it first and put the little tag on it, or it won't get picked up. And if you're not capable of getting your mattress out to the curb, or there's all kinds of factors, that maybe you can afford the $15, but you can't transport that far even, or maybe you can't, whatever, Right. I know there would be all kinds of reasons why people would not be able to dispose of their own, and yet we go, oh, well, they're such slobs. They just threw that out the back door, and that may have been their only option. So we do need to be sensitive to that. I think that this sort of sounds like you said, Brad, this sounds like another topic that needs to have some exploration. We need to do a lot of research on this, or some research, and see what kind of, we can't recommend options until we know what the extent of the problem is, right? Or the scope of it. So I don't know, would we want to take this on at the same time that we were working on composting? I mean, they're sort of related in that you're getting stuff out of your, you're getting rid of it and you're not, or do we want to put all our resources one way first? I mean, maybe 4 of us are interested in one and 4 are interested in the other. I don't know. What's your take on that? Should we divide and conquer, or should we?
So some of the research will be the same, like the list of the different companies that come and pick up your waste, and then looking at how much that cost is, and then looking at the city side or the county side on how much that cost is. So I feel like it's similar.
So they could run concurrent it could be a 2-parter.
Yes.
Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So will we bring this back next month with maybe some firmer ideas on how we'd like to proceed?
And I think also understanding what are our abilities to gather response data from people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
better start there.
Can maybe follow up
And-
just in an email on that, just so you have a base on.
To the point about the bulk pickup, my guess is to some degree the data may already exist at the county level about how many people come through every year to drop off, right, a load over 1,000 pounds, or right. I mean, my guess is they're tracking those kinds of data. I certainly hope they would be. You can't cut what you don't measure.
Sure they are. And I think maybe if we're inviting somebody to come in and talk to us about that, if you tell them up front that we're looking at this and this, she'll bring the data.
Yep, I would think they got the receipts. They could find out, because you have to register, so.
Just additionally, Emma, I think Brandon had mentioned that there was already some data on the cost of bulk pickup in Oshkosh, and that's why it's not
It's not viable at this point.
right. Which I said bulk pickup, but it could just be bulk. What do with bulk waste? It's just a conversation on bulk waste and the accessibility and affordability of getting that taken care of for community members.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you all for bringing up these. This is a wonderful conversation tonight. Thank you. Okay, next, sustainability-related plans. We have an update, Emma?
Yeah, so the sustainability plan update, I know last month there was some conversation on the next time that you'd be able to speak to the consultant, and we're looking at some dates potentially closer to the end of the month for some public engagement sessions. We haven't chose a date yet. I think there'll be multiple time slots, so just stay tuned for that, and hopefully we can send something out, again, the end of this week, early next week. But yeah, just still working with them, those bi-weekly check-ins, they're kind of getting to the point of possibly drafting some chapters, which is exciting, but they're still, looking to collect some more data on the front end. And then the comprehensive energy plan, I don't know a whole ton about that. I think they're still working through collecting some data. It sounds like more on like the wastewater side of things now. I know at first it was a lot of information they needed from WPS, but now I think they're looking more at city facilities and community-wide what our water what our water supply is and what we're going through. So I guess those are my 2 updates, just kind of working through them, slowly but surely. But
as far as the community engagement goes with the consultants, are they coming to Oshkosh for this?
Sorry, they'll be in person, and I think
okay.
Nothing's, like I said, nothing's been decided yet, but I know they're looking to do it all in one day. There'll be hopefully like a late morning, early afternoon, and then kind of a mid-afternoon, and then an evening time slot. I think we're kind of looking at. I'm not sure if one is going to be exclusively for SAB, or if these are all kind of going to be more public engagement side. Where we can invite all board members from SAB or Plan Commission, whoever wants to attend. And then, just kind of go from there. But nothing's been finalized yet. This is just kind of initial conversations.
I assume we'll be noticing them all for
Correct,
both Plan Commission and the Sustainability Board.
Yeah, or any council
or
and stuff like that.
anybody else.
Yep.
Just invite everybody, the whole city. It's noticed for everybody.
Right.
Sounds good. Okay, so agenda items for future meeting. Gee, what have we got down so far?
So I apologize, the WLGCC, I just haven't had a time to really compile all of the stuff that has been going on. We've just been busy, but I'm hoping next month I can share, just some of the information and resources that we've heard from other communities and just what the group's up to. So.
No need to apologize. We know it's been very busy around the planning department and all of City Hall, so lots of changes going on. So next month we'd like to have a speaker from solid waste. We'd like to discuss composting and bulk pickup.
Bulk waste.
Bulk waste, okay, as kind of a package deal. Is there anything else that we want to put on for next month or future months?
We need to discuss the survey options, right? And the topics for farmers market plans, right?
Yep.
Yes,
Get
because we
ahead
should
of
be able
those.
to have the dates by then.
Even if we don't have the dates, I think
Let's
it'd
stick
be
and decide,
Yeah, it'd be nice to think about what we want to talk about with the community, and that gives us plenty of time to prep materials.
I was going to say we may have to collect some things to make them work. Yeah.
And then, just a reminder, if anything comes up between now and before the next meeting, feel free to email me and we can get that added to next month.
I had another pitch, I guess, for you all. I'd like to maybe share something about like some sort of seasonal species, whether it be a bird or a plant or some sort of animal that we can spotlight. We'll call it the seasonal species spotlight. Maybe put sustainability in there if you want more S's. But I was just hoping to I can take it on to, people are welcome to contribute, but if anybody, or the idea would be it'd be an agenda item and I would brief on one of these seasonal species. And the idea being that this would be part of our educational outreach on native plants and just ecology in general. So if anybody has anything, thinks it might not be a good idea, I'm open to feedback too. But
I will just say I think it's a good idea. I've been seeing at different communities at the top of their board meetings they have different educational pieces, and I think this would fit in perfectly. It gives the viewers a reason to tune in other than just our basic agenda. So I'm for it.
that's the idea. Okay.
Is there a generic title we can put that so we can talk about other things?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be species. It could just be seasonal spotlight. Yeah.
Seasonal sustainability spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it were to include a recipe, it would bring in even more viewers.
Yeah, I brought in magnolia cookies today, so.
And morels this time of year, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mushrooms. They're
Yeah,
edible?
yeah.
Good that you're not good, okay. I see what
Okay,
what
then,
you're going at.
is there anything else for future meetings that we know right now? Nope, we're good. Okay, well then the next meeting is going to be on Monday, June 2nd. And would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn? Or is that what you wanted?
I'll motion.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?